Okay, so today we're looking at a really interesting mix of texts. We've got bits from Acts, the Psalms, John's Gospel, and Revelation.
Yeah, and they all seem to touch on, faith, following through on that faith, obedience, and Jesus is right there at the center of it all.
Definitely. Let's maybe start with Acts. There's this immediate tension, isn't there?
Right off the bat, Acts 5, the apostles are hauled before the Sanhedrin, the High Council.
And the order is pretty clear. Stop talking about Jesus, period.
Exactly. This is the top authority telling them to zip it. But Peter and the others, they just come back with, we must obey God rather than men.
Wow. That's
Wait.
quite a statement to make in that situation. It sets the tone, really.
It absolutely does. It's this immediate declaration that there's a higher authority they answer to. No hesitation.
So what's the key thing we should sort of take away from that initial clash?
Well, it's that unwavering focus, isn't it? Divine authority trumps earthly power, even the highest power. For them, Jesus' resurrection wasn't just a story, it was validation. It proved their mission was from God.
And they actually get flogged for this. But then it says they leave rejoicing.
Rejoicing because they were considered worthy, to suffer dishonor for the name.
That's a perspective that can feel really alien today, I think.
Yeah.
Why rejoice in suffering?
Well, I don't think it was about enjoying the pain itself. It was more that they saw it as being directly linked to Jesus, suffering for him, because of him. It made the suffering meaningful, like a badge of honor almost, a sign they were truly following him.
Okay, so it's tied into that conviction. Then we shift gears pretty dramatically with Psalm 30.
Yeah, the tone is completely different. It's very personal, inward-looking compared to that public confrontation in Acts.
It goes from this cry for help, Yahweh my God, I cried to you, and you healed me, to just this outpouring of thanks and joy.
It really maps out that internal journey of faith, doesn't it? From the absolute depths, thinking you're heading for the pit, to being lifted up. The core idea seems to be this reliable shift, this hope.
Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes with the morning. Such a powerful image.
It is. And then later, you have turned my mourning into dancing. You took off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. It's transformation, plain and simple.
He even talks about feeling secure before, thinking nothing can ever shake me. And then, well, things clearly got shaky.
Right, which makes the return to trust even more powerful, I think. It shows that even when that sense of earthly security fails, the underlying reliance on God can endure or even deepen. It's not a naive faith.
So, moving on again, we land in John's Gospel, chapter 21, post-resurrection. The disciples are back by the Sea of Tiberias.
And they're fishing. Back to the old job, you could say. And significantly, they've caught nothing all night.
Yeah, that detail feels important. It's very human. After everything, they're back doing what they know, but it's, well, fruitless.
Maybe a bit symbolic of being adrift, perhaps unsure of the next step, without Jesus physically there in the same way.
Could be. And then Jesus appears on the beach, but they don't recognize him at first.
Not straight away, no. And he tells them, just very simply, try the other side of the boat.
And boom, suddenly so many fish they can't even haul the net in. 153, the test specifies.
People love to speculate about the number 153, but the main point, surely, is the sheer abundance. It's overwhelming.
A clear sign.
Yeah, a sign of his power, his provision. Even after the resurrection, it's showing them, I'm still with you, things are different now. It breaks them out of that unproductive rut.
And it's the disciple Jesus loved who recognizes him first, telling Peter, it is the Lord.
And Peter, being Peter.
Throws on his outer garment and just jumps into the water. Doesn't wait for the boat.
Always impulsive. But it shows that deep, affection and eagerness. He just wants to get to Jesus.
They have breakfast on the shore. Fish cooking on charcoal fire. It feels very grounded, very real.
It's incredibly intimate. The resurrected Lord making breakfast for his friends. It's about restoring that fellowship, that connection.
And then comes that really focused exchange with Peter. 3 times. Simon said to John, do you love me?
Given Peter's very public denial just weeks before, this is huge.
Absolutely. What's the core of that interaction, do you think?
It's restoration, pure and simple. Jesus isn't dwelling on the denial. He's asking about present love, and then immediately gives Peter a job to do. Feed my lambs, look after my sheep.
It's forgiveness and commissioning all rolled into one, reinstating him.
Exactly. A powerful second chance and a clear direction for his future ministry. Trust, right after failure.
But then right after that, Jesus gives that prophecy about Peter's future. It's kind of cryptic.
It is. When you were young, you went where you wanted, But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go.
The text explicitly says this referred to the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. So, martyrdom.
Yeah. It adds this layer of, well, reality.
Yeah.
The cost of discipleship. Following Jesus involves blessing, intimacy, purpose, like the breakfast, the commission, but it also involves potential suffering, ultimate sacrifice. It doesn't shy away from that.
It's a real sobering counterpoint to the joy of the miraculous catch.
It grounds the whole experience.
Okay, so finally we jump to Revelation chapter 5. And the scene just explodes, doesn't it? From the shores of Galilee to this cosmic throne room.
Completely different scale. We're talking vast numbers of angels, thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. Just an unimaginable multitude.
All gathered around the throne, and at the center is the lamb that was sacrificed.
And they're all worshiping this lamb, declaring him worthy to receive power, wealth, wisdom, might, honor, glory, and blessing.
It feels like everything we've seen the apostles suffering but finding honor, the psalmist finding joy after despair, Peter being restored after denial and facing sacrifice. It all culminates here in this ultimate vindication and glory of the Lamb.
It certainly seems that way. It's the big picture, the heavenly perspective. And notice who's worshiping.
Right, it's not just the angels.
No, the text says every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea, everything in them. The whole of creation joins in.
Staggering. What does that universal chorus tell us?
It emphasizes the absolute scope of the Lamb's significance and eventual triumph. It suggests this figure, Jesus, is central not just to human history, but to the entire cosmos. His suffering and sacrifice have this universe-altering importance.
So we've journeyed from this tense confrontation in Jerusalem through personal cries and joys, a lakeside restoration, and finally to this, well, overwhelming heavenly vision.
Quite a range of experiences: persecution, healing, forgiveness, commissioning, sacrifice, and ultimately universal adoration.
Looking back at that initial scene in Acts, the apostles leaving the Sanhedrin, beaten but rejoicing, that conviction seems echoed in a way by the final scene in Revelation.
There's a connection between enduring hardship on earth for that name and the ultimate honor and glory ascribed to the Lamb in heaven.
And Peter's story, the denial, the loving restoration, the call to feed the sheep, and the foreknowledge of his own difficult end, it's such a powerful arc of what following might entail.
It really encapsulates the complexity, the highs and lows, the demands and the grace. It's not presented as an easy path, but one with profound meaning and, ultimately, hope.
That shift in Song 30, from sackcloth to dancing, also feels key. That even in the midst of difficulty, there's this deep underlying current of hope and eventual joy.
Definitely. It speaks to resilience, to a faith that looks beyond the immediate trouble.
So when you put it all together, the earthly struggles, the personal encounters, this huge cosmic picture, what's a thread that really stands out to you, maybe something for listeners to chew on?
That's a good question. I suppose it's the idea that profound conviction often involves navigating both immense challenges and moments of deep personal connection or restoration. And perhaps that perspective shifts dramatically depending on whether you're looking at the immediate struggle, like Peter facing the Sanhedrin, or the ultimate cosmic view from Revelation. It's all part of the same tapestry somehow.
Yeah, how these different scales, the personal, the communal, the cosmic, all intertwine around this central figure in the path of following him. Lots to think about there.